Good. One sec. Cord on my end. And you're live.
And welcome to Kindasound this morning on the Reality Bite Show. Hello, you happy listeners. Thank you all for tuning in. And I have my guest, Andy Barlow, back. And I'm so happy to have Andy back. We're sort of covering multiple different topics for humanity at the moment. We're ploughing our way through what we can to just help people. And the subject matter for today, so a little bit, I'll get Andy to give you a brief bit of his background in a moment, but our subject matter today is pretty much empowerment. We want to do as much as we can just to let people know how they got to where they are so they really comprehend that, because then they can release it and, you know, get themselves back into that empowered space, because it's a crazy world out there at the moment, Andy, isn't it?
Very wonky.
Wonky is an understatement, I would say.
Or an undertaker.
Or an undertaker, if you're reading my letter from the CEO of Anglian Water. Yes, interesting job change he's just had. Anyway, on a different subject. So, Andy, just remind the listeners this morning. So, what is your background? How did you get into doing what you're doing, and a little bit of like your journey?
Yeah, my background. Okay, so a little bit more my journey. Yeah, always been awake to everything. Always knew things weren't right. Always questioned things. Dad always called me the black sheep of the family going through life. Always thought that was a negative, but now I know it's positive. I suppose 9/11, as I may have mentioned on previous ones, was a big wake-up call when working at the airport, and they said, "Look, planes have gone through the towers," and I go, "Oh, it's a tin can." And even pilots will go, "What?" So yeah, I questioned lots of things, but all through my life in corporate world, always working, but always never happy, never really understanding why I have to do this. So got to fast forward like 2019, 2020, etc. I mean, when something happened in Wuhan, apparently, realized things were wrong. And I was already involved in common law at this point. Before that, I've always been a trainer. I've always worked in training people on IT systems. So things like Waitrose, Tesco's, I used to work for. Then I used to work for British Airways, installing systems around the world. And I went to become a medical resus trainer, and then moved out of corporate in 2021 after I did a lot of rabbit warrens, diving, not trying to find my way out and all this. But I went into all this like thinking, oh my God, what's going on with the world? But I was in common law with practical lawful dissent under David Robinson, and realizing things weren't working. So couldn't figure out why. And then after Dave's untimely death, that's when I went into commerce or contract law, realized that everything's really an offer. And everything is based around equity. Equity trumps common law every time in the court. So if it's fair and just. So that's where we go from there. So I've got involved in it. I've been doing this now with common law as well, about 2.5, nearly coming up 3 years. But I've realized throughout the journey that things have to change. We can't just keep sending paper. We got to do us. It's us that has to do it. Yeah. So we have to, it comes from within. And this is why I'm coming more from the empowerment side and doing that lot. So the journey's been quite horrendous. I mean, as previous people, the previous one, 2020, I tried to kill myself because I wanted off the planet, but spirit wouldn't let me go.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you. But I know reason why I'm here. I'm on a journey, so that's when I began the spirituality journey. And I mentioned that I talked last time when I saw you. When I first heard spiritual, yeah, you can run naked around the field singing Kumbaya, smoking dope. Because that's what I thought spirituality was about. But now I'm starting to realise there's lots of work to do on myself. I mean, thank you to you for the healing you gave me the other day. And we'll talk about that another time. Yeah. But it's a process. But I've now realised that the way we're working with the system, for me, the way I see it is a lot of people are doing it the wrong way. We're fighting. We shouldn't fight. We should just say, have a bit of love, and then realise who we are and that we have ultimate authority. So it's basically where
I do like that concept. Because, I mean, when you understand things on an energetic level, like from the quantum realm, pretty much whatever you're putting out, you're going to be giving the signal to pull that stuff back in from the you know, the consciousness, the unified field, whatever you want to call it, because all possibilities are already happening all up there.
Yeah.
And it's just whatever you're running through your body is what's going to be calling in the stuff that you're wanting to experience. So it is, and it's not the sitting back brigade. This is far from sitting back and doing nothing and just taking my learnings and my lessons and letting these people just trample all over me. It's not that at all. It's actually reconnecting to that powerful self that we've been taught is not there. So standing in that space where you can hold your own space and not, like you say, know who you are and not allow. For me, it's about not allowing, you know, these peoples, these corporations, these companies, whatever they are, to just trample over you because they think they have a right under legislation.
Yes, only if you're a person.
If you're a person. And this, I suppose, is a little bit of where I find a lot of people lose, you know, sort of lose the comprehension is the getting the hang of, there's two different aspects at play here. So could you just explain a little bit about that, the two different aspects of how we come into the person and obviously the woman or the man?
Yeah, okay. So
just briefly to give people in the simplest possible terms that you can.
Right. Yeah, no, that's fine. You were born, you were birthed, end of. There you go. So when you're born onto the planet, you're born into the private. You're given inalienable rights to every resource on the planet without being greedy. Take what you need, but don't be greedy type thing. Then we, as parents, not a government word, but as adults, we go and register our young ones, and we call them children. We go and register the birth, and that birth is a certificate manifest. So the mother is the cargo vessel, the child is the cargo, and then that creates an entity or a person. Under Black's Law Dictionary, a person is a natural living human being who is attached to a corporation. So it's all linked together. They're classed as entities. Right. So you're born, you're alive, and you're birthed, you're dead. So you're a dead entity. So corporations can only talk to corporations. So when you're born in the private, everything's yours. Everything out there is yours. You can do what you want. The world is put into trust to us, or the realm, as I call it. In the public, we give away our rights to have benefits and privileges. So things like mortgages, loans, driver's license, taxes, council tax, all these sort of things. These are benefits and privileges. They're like
sorry, I'm just going to have to stop you there this morning. Tax is a benefit and privilege. I've never heard that one before.
Well, it is to them because you're giving them money.
It is to them, isn't it? It's not to us, though, is it? That's the thing.
No, it's not. But it's like I say, not us personally, but over hundreds of years, thousands of years, the way the system's been running, we have given away our rights for their benefits because we're like little magpies. They shine something in your life. Oh, shiny, shiny, let me have that. Yeah. And off we go and grab it. So we've given away our rights. They've not taken our rights from us. We have done it ourselves.
Yeah, it's been an interesting process, and I think it's that getting your head around that one, that actually this has been done to us in a way, a bit of a sneaky, underhanded, hypnotic type indoctrination style fashion.
Yeah,
which has been interesting. However, as living beings, we have gone, yes, you can do this to us. Yes, you can.
We have. Yeah. Yeah,
so we actually acquiesce to the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly, because we didn't know any better. They've put us under spells. They've hypnotized us. They've indoctrinated us, whatever you want to call it. So they put us under a spell. So and the word I always use now is it's our presumption we have to do this, and we get ourselves into that mess because we presume we are liable for that parking charge or we're liable for that bill. We're not. As living men and women, no one has authority over us. Only the authority we give away to as a person. So the way I look at it is, you're born, you're given a name. The name is something you carry. It's not you or me. So it's actually
who is you? Sorry, guys. Apologies this morning. Me and Andy are going to be laughing because we just opened one of my letters before we came on air this morning and had a good old giggle all the way through about who is you. But that's not the subject. But yes, go on, Andy.
Oh, I've lost my train. No, so I mean, you do this to me. I'm losing my train. So at the end of the day, in a nutshell, all we've got to think about is we are living men and women. We are not persons. We are only a person if we want to be a person and play an act, because everything is a show. Everything is an act. Hence the reason act, statutes and legislation. 9.6 million in the UK alone. 7.5 million in Australia, 25 million in America. So pretty a lot of those statutes, and they're writing them all the time, but they don't apply to living men and women, only corporations.
So that is basically all of these things only apply to you if you agree to them and say,
Correct.
yes, I'm going to stand under that. And yes, I agree to your terms and conditions.
Yeah, it's called joinder.
Yeah. And
if you agree to join you to the name, then you agree to be the person.
And this is obviously this becomes the pain point when you're suddenly becoming aware of who you actually are and how, I'm going to say the word screwed over we've all been through choice as well, though.
Yeah.
But you know, there is, like I say, that we did not know we had a choice because it's been going on for so long. How the system runs now, and the system runs pretty well, to be honest. It's a pretty good system that's running. It's just we've never been taught the rules of the system.
No.
We've just been taught, and this is the interesting thing for me. I know we're going to get into the empowerment, the emotional stuff. But the interesting part for me is I know this. I know who I am. However, when post a bit of paper comes through my door, I get anxiety.
Of course you are.
And it's because I still feel on the level of I've been indoctrinated so well with the fear of not authority, because the only authority I've ever been bothered about in my whole entire life is my dad and my mum. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's it as far as I'm concerned. But it's the anxiety around doing something wrong. When you challenge something, for some reason, I've got this deep buried bit that you're not allowed to challenge that. You're not allowed to stand in your space of power and say, actually, hold on one moment, I disagree with this. I think that's very unfair, and I'm going to make you this offer. As soon as you start doing that, you know, it's a weird, deep buried, like core thing that I know I've got, because I get it with all, it could be anything coming through the door now, all post, you know, I get the, what's this? Oh God, no, I'm going to have to challenge something again. You know, I'll stand up and challenge anybody. If you're having a go at a friend of mine, I'll step in and go, whoa, back up. That's not right. It's funny, isn't it, when it comes to the self though, and this type of thing.
Yeah.
How you suddenly realise, like, wow, they've done a good job on me. Because even though I know this stuff, I've still got those feelings come up that, am I allowed to do this? Of course I bloody am. I'm a living woman. You know, and you have to rationalise with yourself and go, what is wrong with you? This is where I am at the moment anyway. Because it's
and that is the issue, because even though you know who you are, and I do not mean this in any negative shape or form, you haven't managed to disassociate the name with you yet. It's still attached to you. So it's still an attachment. But once you sever that attachment, I mean, I got to the stage, what are we now? November, aren't we now? Yeah, we are. Lose track of time. But yeah, I mean, around about March, April time this year, I suddenly realised, hang on, I'm not that person. I am me. Anything that comes through is just a piece of paper. How can a piece of paper hurt me? It can't, because it's only talking to another piece of paper, your birth certificate.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm questioning lots of things again at these moments in times. I mean, people watch this, they go, oh God, he's off again. Because I question everything that comes through. I mean, I'm now questioning things like the SETA KB Trust. Now, I know we're going off topic slightly, but
no, it doesn't matter, yeah.
I question things all the time, because I sat there yesterday having a cup of coffee and I went, who told us we got a SETA KB Trust?
Yeah.
It's history, his story. Where's the evidence? Do you know, I'm now questioning lots and lots of things again, thinking.
Yeah, because I've not seen any evidence, and because we've had some conversations over the last few days with some interesting people, and one of them, something came up in that conversation. This was the interesting thing about questioning stuff, and I did not want to mention it in that space. GMEI utility. Now, when I looked on there, I phoned those people up. I thought, I don't know what any of this means. And I had a very good conversation with one of the upper managers, and they said, it's got nothing to do with your national insurance number. And after, like, I was explaining why, tell me what this is. And I took them to the screen and they were like, that's nothing to do with you. Look, I can show you where that comes from and who that's, they're not meant to. But he was very helpful. And he's like, it's nothing to do with your national insurance number. So, there's things that, like, so we get told his story and no one evidences it.
No.
Andy, do they? And this is what, I always think one of my business partners always says to me, it's one man's word.
Yeah.
Have you looked at it yourself?
Which is like I say, when I started questioning them, we had a conversation with a friend yesterday, and I said, yes, but the ZKV trust exists. I said, does it? Prove it. I said, show me the evidence. I said, I believe there's something, but I'm now questioning history, because history is written by the victor. History is written by a man who lies. History is just a story. So was this another path we're going down and think, oh God, yeah, they got ZKV trust. We know the banks can just print whatever they like. So is there a trust? Is there gold at the end of the rainbow? Whatever. No, I don't believe there is. I actually now think that this is all just another. Yeah, I mean, like 1666, Great Fire of London. Were you there? Did you see it happen?
Yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? It's the whole. I mean, we could go into with Tartaria and the mud floods and moltenology and all of these things. I mean, you have to, like, say, I was watching. This is totally off for the listeners, totally off subject. I was watching a video the other day, and it was fascinating because they were going all around the plane of existence, and they were taking pictures of like rocks, mountains, different things. And we've got fossil. You can tell they're mushrooms. These mushrooms are like 20 foot tall, fossilized mushrooms. There's rocks that look like, animals that have just stopped, like giant elephants and, giant people that have just sort of like, they've obviously died in that space. Something's happened and they've been turned into a fossil. And it's like, what on earth has gone on this plane of existence? Because like you say,
I always refer back to the video that launched me on a lot of all this research, not on what we're doing, but research on the world or the realm that we're in. And it's a guy called Ewarranon, Ewarranon. And he's put a 6-hour video out called The Lost History of Flat Earth. Now, that's another story. We won't talk about that.
I think I've watched that, actually.
But he shows the evidence of how we used to be a lot taller, the evidence of crystalline trees, like you say, animals that they say called dinosaurs were just reptiles, because they were the same. They were
massive
in comparison to us. Yeah, they weren't actual dinosaurs. That's what they're saying. But when you look at the buildings and the architecture and how many buildings are below the mud, how much of the building, that's when you realise that, they've covered history up quite well, and they've lied to us. And when you think they reckon our history is only 200 years old, that's that. Yeah, I mean, when you watch and you see the evidence, jaw hits the floor and you go, wow.
Yeah, there are some.
There's no proof of anything going back more than 200 years.
No, it's and that's interesting. I saw some again random pictures of, was it St. Petersburg?
Yes.
Is it the early 1800s?
Yeah, no people there.
Yeah, no one, nothing. Just like a full reset. Yeah. Everyone gone. Like not a soul anywhere. It was really.
But then 20, 30 years later, people were there.
Yeah. It's just, there's some, like I say, some weird shit that goes on this plane of existence that we really are not privy to this information. And it's worth rooting through the chaff if any of you are interested to have a look. I mean, I've had Flat Earth Dave on here twice now, and I find him hysterical because he has actually spent since 9/11, not regarding the Twin Towers, but he wanted to know what money was initially. So he thought, he just sat there after he saw that happen. Right? I was thinking that's weird because the TV showed me one thing and I've just seen something else. This is odd. So then he thought, what's money? And he started going into the fiat currency, and then obviously found out that, money's non-existent, you can just print what you want. It's all controlled by a certain amount of people. And he was like, wow. And he's got a friend who's a really high up scientist in America. And apparently they were out having coffee. And he said if it was anybody but her who would have said this to him, he'd have literally laughed in their face and walked off. But he said he was sat down with her and they were having a cup of coffee and he was talking about the fiat currency and that. And she was laughing and going, you think that's messed up? Go and have a look at the flat earth. And he said he nearly spat his coffee over because of who it was that had said it. And he went, oh, shut up. Like, you don't believe that old rubbish, do you? And she said, I'm saying nothing. But if you like to go and research stuff, just go and out of curiosity, have a look at that. Now, this is a top, MIT scientist was saying this. And so he's thinking, yeah, I'll disprove you. I'm going to prove we're on a spinning ball within a week. It'll be no problem. And then whatever that is, like 20 years later, he's still trying to prove that we're on a spinning ball. And all he keeps doing is proving we're like, all he keeps doing is that, well, everything I do, every experiment I run, and all the cameras we produce and we make that aren't fisheye, goggle show curves, everything's flat. It's flat, 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 flat. He said, there's nothing spinning anywhere. He said, but I'm going to keep trying to prove that it's spinning. And he just makes me die, because it is. And for me, I suppose all it did is, after meeting Dave, it made me, it's not so much, I don't care if we're on a ball hurtling through space or we're on a flat plane. My only issue is that we've been lied to about a lot of things, and that as a group, a collective of living beings, we're being suppressed and we're being manipulated and we're being indoctrinated and we're being used in a slavery system that none of us are aware of is happening, or I'm going to say none of, we are getting aware. But that is my only concern, is that we're being suppressed as living beings. We're beautiful energetic systems, that are all powerful creators, and we've had this stuffing kicked out of us for years to make us think that we're a descendant of an ape on a spinning ball hurtling through space, and we're insignificant.
Totally agree.
So
no, we're not. We are. I mean, I'm learning more and more. I mean, like I say, I woke up spiritually, nearly 2.5 years ago. So I'm running down my path now, and I'm learning so much about it, starting shamanic courses and all this lot. But it's true, when you realise how powerful we actually are and how they want to keep us dumbed down, because this up here is one of the most powerful weapons on the realm. Because if we can tap into what's in there, imagine what we could do. I mean, I've seen people move clouds with their mind. I've seen people vibrate water from their hand about 3 feet above. And it just goes to show that once you tap into yourself properly, you are, we know we go off infinity, whatever, we're always going to be here. But the power inside is what they don't want us to have. So that's why they keep us dumbed down with, we know what's going on up above. So they say, don't look up, look at your Black Mirror, watch all this stuff. But,
no, Black Mirror. Interesting Netflix series, I think that was. That's just become, when little dots suddenly connect and you go, oh, that's another one.
You think that's good? Watch the new series of Love, Death and Robots. First episode tells you everything you need to know.
I'll do it. All right. That'll be my viewing later when I've got back from my haircut then. So, first on this morning, Ashes to Ashes, David Bowie. What do you like about this one?
For me, it's just, there's nothing I can pinpoint in particular. It's just David Bowie was, for me, a hero. I mean, he was an amazing artist. The way he's like a chameleon in the music industry, the way he changed his looks and everything. But Ashes to Ashes to me is just something that hits home. And when you sit and you go, wow, this is amazing. This is a beautiful, beautiful song.
I like a bit of Bowie. So if you wouldn't mind, Django, this morning, a bit of Ashes to Ashes, please.
Cool, you're off air.
I did quite nicely with my angling water undertaker. Oh, God, it gets worse, Andy. When are you coming down to Essex then? Because
well, I had one of your friends contacted me via a messenger, I think it was. What's her name? She's on Facebook as Patchouli Trump.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, so she's contacted Jen, and Jen's going to organise a date. So that'll be good. And Gray's in Essex.
Yeah, she's literally about 35 minutes up the road from me. So if you want to camp here, you're more than welcome.
Oh, bless you. That's very kind.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. So just come down. Come down and have a gallivant around Essex.
Yeah, I love how the conversations was taking a bit of a detour again.
Always does. It's nice for the listeners as well to go all over the place. It's nice. I just think we're at that point now, aren't we, where we just, like I said, we just need everybody to just open their eyes and turn right instead of looking left. Yeah. Just take a look at the stuff that they've been following.
Yeah.
All the systems that we're in, and just go, actually, is that where I want to be now? No, because like you say, there's no need to fight anything, is it? It's just, you don't need to fight it. The only reason there is because we're all looking at it. If we just turn and go, right, no, actually we're going over. That will
Someone
just
put me in touch with a video to watch on Netflix last night, which was The Man from 3036.
right. I've not seen that.
It's about a guy who apparently was arrested about 4 or 5 years ago for stealing, completely
Right.
bald, no body hair, nothing, and he claimed it's from the future. Now, when they released him and everything, they did an interview with him, and he's shown that he had a chip in his hand and everything else. He had to wear a mask because of it. He's telling things about the future of how, but he also mentioned things like COVID and stuff before it even happened, and stuff he was coming out with. And I sat there and I thought, yeah, okay. He's talking about people living beneath the land. I thought, okay, it's Demolition Man. He's talking about other things, but it's actually very interesting because he actually disappeared, but they found a body, completely burnt body, with the left hand missing, the bit with the chip in it. And I sat there and I went, okay, so maybe he was telling the truth. Maybe he could time travel. And what he's saying was going to happen is certain things have happened already because of what he said. Anybody can predict the future, really.
Yeah.
But I sat there and went, whoa, he actually disappeared. But because they couldn't identify him, they couldn't identify his fingerprints. His blood type did not match anything on the planet. His hair DNA did not match anything on the planet. So where did he come from? You know what I mean? It gave me more questions than answers.
Yeah.
30 seconds to go.
Thank you,
Okay.
Dan. And it's with the dimensional stuff. I mean, that week-long Joe Dispenza that I went on.
Yeah.
Starting to get an understanding of the different, we're in a multi-dimensional multiverse.
Yeah.
So everything's happening all at the same time everywhere. It just depends on where your focus is which one of these you're sitting in.
Yeah.
So people can, if you think about it like that, and time, there is no space and time. Everything's now.
I get similar sort of stuff like that because I get potentials.
Kindasound Radio, the station for a global community.
And you're live.
And welcome back to Kindasound this morning on Reality Bites. We're talking all things mystical, weird, wonderful, and indoctrinated, I think, this morning, to be honest. So we're going to go all over the place. Andy, we were just talking literally infinite possibilities in the quantum realm as well in the break there. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, as you know, I always say everything's in plain sight anyway. And when you look at the Marvel movies, the multiverse is already there. So everything's there. But the healing I've been doing with the gentleman up in Scotland has opened things up to me where if I'm following someone down the road, I know there's different potentials of what could happen to him or her. So I'm sitting there going, oh, I don't want to know that one. So it's almost like I'm going in and out of different realms or different universes and seeing which one's going to fit. And I think for me, that scared the life out of me. When I spoke to Mark, he went, no. He said, this one of your gifts, he said, you're going to see potential possibilities of what could happen. He says, only what you're doing will actually create that possibility. And I went, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, I truly believe there's infinite possibilities of everything. And we just have to take the one that we feel fits us best.
And it does. And that's odd you should say that, because when I'm driving sometimes I'll get scenarios running through my head of different things, but I'm very, very aware because I'm aware of thought processes and how they connect into everything. So when they start going, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I'm not interested in that one. I'd actually like this one where I arrived at this time with my coffee in my hand, quite happy, thank you. So I'm going to just focus on this one. And it's interesting because the driving, I do this all the time. I call it time slipping. But when I'm driving, I like to get to places. Number one, I just say to the universe, arrive me at the time I'm meant to be there. So I'm never stressed about timing. But I drive down to Reading quite a lot. And it's really interesting because I drive when there's traffic. So yesterday morning, I left at 5:30 because I wanted to go just before it all gets heavy. And it took me 2 hours, 25 minutes to get down there. Now, when there's no traffic, it should take me 2 hours. So I expect that little bit extra, and I'm going to stop and grab a coffee. On the way back, I left full on traffic, like 5:30.
Yeah.
I got home in 2 hours. And there was more traffic on the way back than what there was on the way down. And it just always makes me chuckle because I'd said in my head, I want to be home. I want to be home like before 8 o'clock so I can have a bath and chill out. And then I just drive. And when I get stuck in traffic, I pay no attention to the traffic.
No, exactly.
I sat in my head doing stuff. And then it's only when I got onto the A12 near where I live, I looked at the clock and was like, oh, 2 hours door to door. Lovely. Thank you. Even though it should have been like the traffic that was there should have been a 3 hour drive.
Yeah.
So I think you can, like I say, when you get good at it, you can just manipulate yourself into different dimensional timelines.
I think you can. I think it's
Lovely.
like I say, we have the power within us. I mean, we all know the power has been with us since day one, but we just get told we can't do this, we can't do that, and we're always made to feel that way. But yeah, I mean, it's like when you're driving. I mean, I've done this multiple times. Honestly, I'm not under the influence of drink or drugs. But you're driving down a road or a motorway, and you think, how did I get to this point? I don't remember going past those two junctions or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's like autopilot, where your brain's going, or your spirit guys, I'm in control. Off you go. Have a little 15 minutes or whatever. And it's weird because the whole vehicle doesn't move. You've got control over the vehicle. You're aware of everything, but you just don't know how you got there.
Yeah, we were talking about this yesterday a lot. We train this to people because it's part of the situational awareness. So the first part of if you're gonna do anything, first of all you need to be aware.
Yeah.
And it's aware how you operate as well. So we do a lot of that, and it's we have quite a laugh taking people through their autopilot, because we go, let's have a look at your autopilot throughout the day, and I'll say to people, right, show of hands in the room, who put their right leg in their trousers first this morning when they got dressed? And you'll have a couple of people who sort of like look a bit befuddled and go, I think I did. And then you go, right, who put your left leg in? And you'll have a few more. And I'll go, who has no idea what leg they put in their trousers this morning first? And literally the majority of the room will go, got no idea. That's the power of your autopilot. But while you're doing that, you're still functioning. You're still thinking about stuff, you're still lining the day up in your head. But you've got all these processes that the body gets so used to, and it just does for you to save time. And that is, again, back to our subject matter of empowerment today. That is that utilizing of that process that your brain does naturally and your body does naturally is what has happened. You've been autopiloted in to these patterns of fear, these patterns of following authority, these patterns of not thinking that you have a choice or an option. That's just been drilled so long into your programming that it becomes part of the autopilot.
Yeah, mainly through the schooling system, unfortunately.
It is. Yeah, I mean, that was brought in literally just to do that job, to make people into workers.
Yeah, little worker bees.
And I actually had an interesting conversation the other day. I don't know what your thoughts are about this, because I was never sent to a private school, which I'm so glad my parents never did, because my mum went to a private school. But I was talking to someone the other day, and he said he was sent to boarding school and private school, but he always knew like he shouldn't be there. And he said it's really interesting because public school breeds like the workers with a certain mentality to follow authority.
Yeah.
And private schools, they breed into them a lack of emotion, the stand up, control people, be authoritative. So the two sections of schooling are designed very specifically. It's all by design, isn't it, to create two different types of people when they get into the working environment.
100%. It's all about division. I mean, you just got to look back 150 plus years ago, maybe longer, when if a woman got pregnant outside of wedlock, she was classed as an outcast, and the babies would get put into then called asylum. So they're closing that division there and then, because if you weren't married, you shouldn't have a child. And the children were, as we all know, called bastards and illegitimate, which means they have no name, so they have no rights to anything on the realm. So that's why they got taken away. And it's so true. Everything that what you're saying, what we're talking about, it's mind blowing.
It is mind blowing. It is mind blowing. And so, for people to start, I mean, you said you were always away. I mean, for me, as a child, I was the same thing. I hated school. Used to wonder why I was being literally dragged there on a daily basis as a small child, thinking, please don't leave me here. I want to go back there with my animals. Well. But for people who are listening to this that have never really thought about anything on this level, where would you say is a good place to start for people to start getting back into that empowered self?
Look in the mirror. See who's in the mirror. Do you know who that man or woman is that you're looking at in the mirror? I mean, we all know the mirror, that reflection is not you, because that's just a representation. And it's knowing, understanding where you fit in and where you slot into everything. There's a lot of people saying to me at the moment, saying, well, I'm awake, I'm a spiritual, but I don't know what my journey is, I don't know what my path is. I said, well, that's because you don't know where from internally who you actually are. So when people talk about who they are, they just go, well, yeah, my name's Andrew Sean Barlow or whatever. And I go, well, that's a name. Who are you? What are you? And they go, well, I'm Andrew. Well, there you go. That's a name you've given yourself. You can go by whatever you want. It's knowing, it's asking that question. Who am I? And that's a difficult one because a lot of people don't know. And even I struggle with that still. I mean, hence the reason why I've been dealing with yourself as well. I mean, I still struggle with 100% knowing who I am. But when I'm in the realm of what I do, I know clearly who I am. I am a man. I was born. I have unalienable rights. No one has authority over me. And it quite clearly states in Cruden versus Neal, 1796, a man is independent of all laws except those prescribed by nature. And nature's law is cause no harm, cause no loss. Everything else is man-made. We created them to enslave people. So it's a question for me is that, who am I? Who is you? Who is me? Etc. And once you understand those basics, you can do a lot of things. But it's detaching the mindset to the name. I mean, like you mentioned before, you still have anxiety when something goes to the letterbox.
Yeah.
I don't have a letterbox. Mine's just a mobile. Yeah, just drive off.
They just throw it on the floor as you're driving off. Yeah.
Catch me if you can, postman. But it's, for me, that took me a long time to realise that piece of paper coming through the letterbox is not me. It's a name, and I'm not that name. And when you can understand that you are not that name, we all go by name. My driving license has got that name on, my passport's got that name on, my bank account's got that name on, because it's all been registered. It's owned by someone else. No one owns me. I own me. So it's just understanding who you are and where it comes from. If it comes from here, the heart, you're in a good place. If it comes from here, you're struggling because the negativity will always come in.
Yeah, the head is not very helpful.
It rules the heart.
Yeah, and it's just getting, like, so back into that heart space. But it's that knowing. The knowing is an interesting subject. So we're just going to do another song, and then we're going to wander into that knowing, because I find that quite a fascinating subject of what do you know about you. So next one, Dreams, Fleetwood Mac. I love this tune.
Yeah, that tune for me is one of my go-to tunes when I just need to sit back, relax, and chill out. I mean, the original, obviously by Fleetwood Mac, is amazing, but when Lainey Gardner did a remix of it about 18 months, 2 years ago with David Guetta, that was another amazing. But it's just a beautiful, beautiful tune, and I just love the wording, and it just chill time.
So a bit chill time for you guys on a Sunday morning. So if you wouldn't mind, Django, a bit of Dreams, please.
Cool, you're off air.
Thank you. Yeah, the knowing of the self, that's an interesting subject. Like I say, I've been following this pretty much since I was a kid, actually.
Yeah.
Following this little adventure of finding my way back to me. Because I always knew that I wasn't part of, like you say, you have that inner knowing that something's not right.
Yeah.
And it always was.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm learning is the gut. The gut is a warning sign. Whoa, hang on, ask questions on this one.
Yeah.
That's what I'm learning loads about that. I mean, like we said on Sunday, we were at a meeting. My stomach's going mad.
So we need to interject at this point because we're traumatizing ourselves by not saying anything.
Yeah, then Mr. B went on a rant.
But that's the whole point, though, isn't it? It's sharing. When we share opinions and we share knowledge, then people can have if you can get out of that ego self of my opinion is the only opinion that matters, and you can allow yourself to drop out and go, right, well, I'm going to listen and I'm going to pull out and see what that feels like, and is that right? And if we could all develop the ability to do that, then we would be able to come together with something that can move forward.
Like you say, it's having that discernment on everything you need to look into.
Yeah, and not getting blinkered at. The funny thing was, there was a very big contradiction in terms that I read on one of these groups, and it was, if you want anything in the new, you can't cling to the old. Now, that was on that group from those people that were talking in a very aggressive fashion. And then underneath that, the contradiction was, but the article still stands, and it's the only thing from the old that you can bring through. And I thought, wow, well, you've got this quote stating that if you cling to the old, you can't bring in the new, yet you're saying you've got to cling to the old. And for me, because it's something that's so, in my life, it's irrelevant that document was ever written and who wrote it so long ago. And because it's all about the people, the living beings, there should just be a mass education around what's happened, and then, right, what do we want now?
Freedom.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? But from the people now.
Yeah.
But with awareness for these people as to what has gone on. So this is what's gone on, guys. This is where you are. Do you want this? Do you want this now, or would you like something totally different?
I think that's why my new talk I'm doing a bit of video, which I've set up a YouTube channel now. The first one I'm going to do is pay attention to what you're paying attention to.
Yeah.
Because I think that's for me, the ultimate word in that is pay. What are you paying with? It's your energy.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all. This is what this is all about. It's energy harvesting.
Well, it is, isn't it? When you think about it, I mean, that's all. When we get to the deeper, darker roots of it, that's what keeps it all running. Is when we know everything runs off of energy.
Yeah.
The more darker space they can keep you in emotionally, they're just feeding, literally, just supplying them dinner.
Yeah. Thank you very much. That's my roast dinner cooked.
Yeah, thank you for that. And it is that getting that. I suppose getting that into. I've got stuff I need to get off my chest today, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm glad
30 seconds to go.
Yeah, so it's that, isn't it? It's getting, again, because we're so indoctrinated, aren't we? This is the thing, you know, it's the understanding the energy. I talk to my guys that I coach in this so much, and some of them will still share fear porn, and I'm like, guys, do I have to come round with my brick to hit you?
And you're live.
And welcome back again to Kindasound this morning on Reality Bites with my lovely guest Andy Barlow. And again, we're talking all things mystical, magical, indoctrinated, and etherical. So I'm just going to say we're going to wander back into knowing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting subject. I know a lot of people. When I started doing a bit of like self-development work, and I was wandering into some of the Louise Hay stuff and the Caroline Myss stuff and bits and pieces. One of the things that was mentioned a lot was go and stand and look at yourself in the mirror and say nice things to yourself. And it was really interesting because I felt like a proper Burke. The first time I was standing there attempting to say nice things to myself, it was probably one of the hardest things. I'm going to say it was actually. It's probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. And I've had a very challenging life adventure so far. But actually standing, looking myself in the eyes and going, I like you. I couldn't get to I love you. Start with it was just the, you know, I like you. You've got nice hair. You know, even stuff like just trying to like open up the conversation with the self.
Yeah.
Was really challenging because we've never done it. All we've ever done is compare ourselves to other people, compete with other people, and feel like we have a lack of something because we're doing that with other people.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that for me has been one of the hardest things, actually looking in a mirror and saying I love you. I still, at a very time, the eyes still move to one side because I don't truly believe that at this moment in time, but it's getting there. I can actually look at myself in the mirror and go, yeah, you're a handsome beast, whatever. But that is the hardest bit because you're actually staying a complete reflection of yourself. And as you know, we mirror everything in ourselves anyway. So when you're sat in front of the mirror and you're actually trying to say those nice things, it's hard to do because it's almost like the reflection going, you ain't saying that. Shut up. No, you're not saying that. Do you know what I mean? It's like that little devil and angel on your shoulder. Yeah, go on, say nice things. No, you're not. I'm not letting you, sort of thing. And it's hard to do that. It's very hard.
Yeah, it's breaking the patterning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it is just a pattern again. And if everybody listening to this, if you think about all of your experiences through life up until now, when it comes to other people and how you see yourself. So clothing's a big thing with me. So when I go out, I like jeans and t-shirts. You know, I've had previous partners in the past say to me, "You're not very girly," and I'm like, "Well, what are you doing with me then?" You know, if you suddenly all of a sudden feel like I'm not girly enough here, go away and find someone who is. You know, because I like to be comfortable and happy in what I'm wearing, because then you're getting, when I go out, you're getting the authentic version, well, as authentic as it can be, like I'm still learning to know myself, but then you're getting that version of me that's happy and comfortable and is not trying to be something that they're not, covered in makeup with bits hanging out. And you know, that's not how I am in life.
No.
And it's whenever I feel uncomfortable, if I put something on that I'm not comfortable wearing, but I've been told I've got to wear a certain thing when I go to a certain place, I won't have an enjoyable evening, because I'm always conscious of how I'm looking.
Yeah. I mean, I used to be that in the workplace. They say I have to wear a shirt and tie and trousers, and I go, well, hang on, I'm sat at the desk. Why? I go, well, you know, it's the uniform. That's what we need to wear. I said, but I'm sat at the desk. Why? I go, well, that's uniform. I said, that's not what I asked. I said, why do we have to wear that? Why can't I just come in jeans and a t-shirt? He said, well, that goes against what terms and conditions are. I said, well, can I have my terms and conditions? And I read through it. It doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
So the next day I came in jeans and t-shirt, got looked at, and they were sort of, why is he in jeans and t-shirts? And then that relaxed dress code.
Yeah.
Because again, it's one of those things, like we step out of where we are in the indoctrinating prison. We go, I'm having a little escape day today, and we can help others realise, just purely by our actions and what we do and what we can say, realise, oh, actually, yeah, I don't have to do that, which is where the knowing comes in from.
Again, getting back to that, the powerful self. I get this a lot in the speaking environment.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first used to do it, it was okay, because they were a lot of sports events. So they would book me as someone to talk about the Paralympics, and they'd expect me to turn up in sports gear. So I'd turn up in like GB kit or something like that, and I was quite comfy in that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it got to the corporate stuff, and it was like, can you come in and do mental health and wellbeing? And I'd go, what's your dress code? And they'd go, smart casual. And I'd think, what the hell is smart casual? No idea even what that word means. Because I wear a shirt with a pair of jeans and some shoes. I don't know. I don't do shoes. I do trainers. And it was just, going for it. So I'd go through all these weird scenarios in my head of like what I've got to wear. And when I'd get there, everybody would be in jeans and t-shirts. And I'd go, oh, could I have come in jeans and t-shirts? And they're like, yeah, of course you could. And it's like, oh, right, okay, So now what I do is I dress comfortably, because I'm getting back to the knowing self. And this is the thing, isn't it, of the, what do you know about yourself? I know if I'm comfortable. I don't go looking a mess. Do you know what I mean? I look very smart in what I'm wearing, but it's my type of clothing and I feel comfortable. So I know that when I'm talking, you're getting me.
You're being the author of what you want to do. And that's where it comes from. Authority. You're writing your own authority on living your life how you want to live it. And it doesn't matter what other people think. I mean, I wear some weird, wacky clothes sometimes when I go to the coffee shop. It's all bright colours, and people just look at you and say, you're right. Because they're all wearing greens and greys and blues and blacks, and I'm sitting there with bright coloured jumpers on or whatever, and people just look at you because you're different. And that's the problem. We have created a division between us, but we need to let people know they are a man and woman. They're not a person. They've got to get that knowing right. It's hard, because I've gone down the road. This is an old sweatshirt, but I used to go down name brands because I thought, oh, that's what I had to do. Follow the leaders, follow the brand leaders. And unfortunately, we go down that road and we cause ourselves a lot of problems.
Yeah, it does. And that's the thing, isn't it? It causes, especially with the youngsters nowadays. I think it's got worse from saying that, actually, when I was at school, it was like there were certain styles of coat that were in fashion. Yeah. You always had these things that were in fashion. Who decides what's bloody in fashion? This is the whole thing, isn't it? You can
media.
You can decide listeners, you can decide what's in fashion.
Exactly. You decide what you want to do in life. No one can tell you what to do. You do it.
And it's getting back into that, like I say, it's getting back into that powerful space. I was just thinking about school, actually, and it was. We had certain things each year, you'd get a certain trend with certain things, and you just sort of had to have one of them, like the puffer jacket coats or certain bags.
Or the Parkers or canvas bags, whatever. It literally is what that you heard that someone else had. So it was like those Chinese whispers that used to come around, and it's subliminal messages through the media and all this, like whatever. You heard it, I have one of those. And they would have gone and get one, then someone gets something different, you change the way you're in it. That's when you realise, I'm just following everyone else. I'm just being a sheep.
Yeah. And that's what we're taught to be, isn't it? So
Yeah.
we're going to go next song this morning because we've only got 10 minutes left.
Okay.
Compliance by Muse.
Oh yeah, this happened when I was on the way down to Essex. I was driving down from Manchester to Essex to attend that talk with Cheryl, and it just came on. It just literally just turned on and went, wow, compliance and the lyrics. So there is no more defiance. Just those just single sentence. Or yeah, that song came out a few years back. I can't remember when it actually came out now. But when I sat there listening to it, it's all in plain sight again.
Everywhere, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So Django, if you wouldn't mind, a bit of compliance this morning, please. Do as you're told.
Cool, you're off air.
Thank you. We've got about 10 minutes left, so perfect timing.
Sweet. So what are we going to do on the next one then? Similar sort of thing. Just continue part 2.
We'll just continue part 2. That's it.
Actually, quite good. Actually,
run them out monthly. It's nice to have a chat, and it's just nice to. The way I look at this is, it's just nice for people to listen to.
Yeah. So
they can just apply it to life if they want to or not, or just listen and think, "Couple of crazy idiots."
Well, hey, we are different.
Exactly.
We are weird, different. We are weird.
Yeah, we are different. We're heading on our own adventures now.
Exactly. Oh dear, it's been a good one so far. Loving the chat. It's been good fun.
Yeah, it's just I just like to share. I like to chat. It's nice to just chat. Interesting conversations. I don't have my dog anymore, you see, so I used to talk to him a lot about stuff. He was a very good listener.
You must have sat there going, oh, she's off again.
Oh, I've heard this one, flat earth. Yeah. I don't feel like I'm on a spinning ball, Mum. No, I haven't got vertigo.
Oh dear.
When you throw my ball, it doesn't keep rolling because it's spinning. I don't have to keep chasing it. It stops. Yeah.
I know. I love the flat earth arguments. I mean, watching some of them on, there's Professor Dave, I think, or someone came out on YouTube saying that he's an expert in globes and all this lot, and he got pretty put down to shill pretty quickly. But like you say, we have our own beliefs, and like it doesn't really bother me what it is, but I just know myself what it is. So
yeah, just have a look. I just say to people, you've got senses, use them.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we teach with the situational awareness. You've got senses, use them.
Yeah.
Listen to them. You know, they say we've only got 6 senses. We've got more than that. We've probably got billions of different senses.
Yeah, I hasten to. I wouldn't like to know how many you've actually got, because I'm sure it's
so we're not tuned into
billions. But
like all the different frequencies, the biophotonic light, everything. We've got so much more than what we think. And I've had so many weird experiences to just show me that yes, there's more to this than meets the eye.
Yeah, like I say, with the knowing, I mean, like I say, I used to believe in things. Now I just know.
Yeah.
So, like when I did up in Scotland, I knew when I was sitting there were people running by me, but there's actually no one there.
Yeah.
I knew there was laughter. I knew there was singing. I knew they were just running by in white robes and all this lot. And I thought, yeah, that's good. But Mark says you won't see until they're ready to show you. He said, because it might be too scary or might be for you at the time. So, but they're giving you gifts slowly but surely, that you know that someone's there or something's there. I mean, I know there's 2 people standing outside my van right now. Can't see them, but I know they're there. It's almost like I've got 2 bodyguards set outside.
The energetics, isn't it, of everything? And the more you open yourself up to these things as well, again, get out of our patterning, innit? Get out of our patterning, our programming. The more you get out of that, the more you can open yourself up. I'm just looking forward to the day where we can all just teleport wherever we want to go, because it is possible. It might travel so much easier.
Wouldn't it?
I mean, and I know there's some weird things. I don't know how long we've got before we jump back on. But one thing, I did watch something with Greg Braden. And he was showing a particular cave in, I think it was Nepal.
30 seconds.
Thank you, it was somewhere like that. And one of the Buddhist teachers there, he takes his students up to this cave and he literally leans on the wall with his fist. And then he just pushes his arm into the rock to his elbow and then just pulls it out and leaves a big hole in the rock. And everyone walks over and like touches it and it's rock. And he goes, now you do it. And they're like, bang, bang, ow, ow. And then he'll just do it again. And it's just to show them that everything is not as it seems an energy. And he said a lot of the students...
Kindasound Radio, the station for a global community.
And you're live.
And welcome back to the final part of Reality Bites on Kindasound this morning. So, knowing the self, empowerment.
Yeah.
Subject matter today. That getting into that deep self. Any other handy tips for people to do that? So we've had the self-reflection. Self-reflection, actually, that's interesting. The wording, the looking in your reflection.
Yeah, because everything's represent, repay, reflect.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's tips on knowing thyself. It's a difficult one. It's a journey, because for me, it took me a long time to understand that I am not a name, I am separate. That's when I realized that there's realms of authority in what we do. So we were created by the creator, whatever your belief system is, God, Jesus, Islam, whatever, it's your belief. We were created and we're given dominion on, or we're guardians on the realm to look after the planet, or the realm, whatever you call it. But then we created the government. So man and woman created the government, who then went created person. So we have authority. It's when you can switch that and get that mindset switch that, I'm not a piece of paper. I am a man. I'm a woman, etc. So I'm not a piece of paper. So knowing that you are alive, and that's a difficult one, because when we had a discussion before and you said I'm a woman, so prove it.
Yeah, not that I'm going to do that, obviously.
But how do you prove to someone you're alive? Because we're living in a realm of corporations. We're living in a realm of entities. So everything to them is a corporation. So how do you prove to a corporation you're alive? And it isn't stick a pin in or draw blood or whatever. It's purely having a copy of your live birth certificate, or your certificate of live birth from the registrar or the NHS or whatever. Mine's sitting in a vault in Guernsey. I can never get it out, but I've got a letter apostolizing saying, he is alive. And that's proof of life.
We're going to have to do another show, Andy, and go into that one. So what is the living birth certificate?
Well, there's 3 documents created at birth. There's the Crown document, which is basically starting the setup of the alleged trust, using the term alleged trust. And then you create, the midwife or the doctor, whoever's there, will create a certificate of live birth or register of live birth saying little baby Doe is alive or stillborn. Yeah. And then obviously we go and create the register of the birth. Oh. So the live one is one way you want to get. It's sometimes called the source document. And that's where you can actually get access to it, and you can access it. They make it difficult, but if you get a copy of that, and then you can get it notarized by a notary public saying, yep, certified copy or certified original, and then that is your proof of life. And that's where your status correction comes in, because why do you have to do a bit of paper to the government or Queen Liz, King Charles, whatever his name is now? Why do you have to do bits of paper to people to say, I'm alive? You know you're alive, but someone else, well, there you go. That's all you need to do. Status correction starts here.
Status correction. We're going to do another show on this.
Okay. Oh no.
I'm making notes for another show. So we're just going to I just want to say thank you very much for joining me this morning. Been a pleasure as always.
Most welcome. Most welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh no worries, and I hope the listeners have enjoyed that. I don't know what we've talked about, Andy. I'll have to listen to on the replay just to find out where we've been today, because it's been quite interesting. I love going all over the place.
Me too.
I just want to say thank you to Django, as always, for producing in the way as he does. And we'll just play out, Django, if you wouldn't mind, with a bit of Dreamer from Ozzy Osbourne, please. Have a lovely day, beautiful listeners.
Blessings to everyone.
Cool, you're off air.